Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, where we go across country and travel the world with members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. Let's go. Welcome, everyone, today on our Big Blend Radio Food, Wine, and Travel Show with the International Food, Wine, and Travel Writers Association. That's such a long sentence. Anyway, we call them IFWTWA. We are going to Gettysburg in Pennsylvania. Now, Nancy and I have traveled there. It was during COVID, so I'm telling you, we need to go back. And I know we've done a number of interviews with travel writers and also artists in residence through the National Parks Arts Foundation. They did a residency in the historic, when we say haunted Klingel House, out in Gettysburg National Military Park. But, you know, Gettysburg is also a community. And this is one of those really interesting things is history is alive in the community and the park. And we have Mary Grace Kauffman joining us from Destination Gettysburg. And I encourage you to go to their website, destinationgettysburg.com, and follow them on social media because fall is awesome in Gettysburg. So welcome to the show, Mary Grace. How are you?
I'm great, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me.
So now you've got to say International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association 10 times real fast.
Yeah, that's definitely a tongue twister. I heard some people calling it IFWTWA. I don't know if that's
IFWTWA.
the quicker way.
Yeah, it's IFWTWA. That's what we say, but it's, you know, I want people to know who they are. It's a great organization, and I love that you're coming on because we really have done a lot on Gettysburg, and I think we really want our audience to know there's a park, but you guys are really connected, and the history that is connected in the military park is really the town history too, right?
Definitely. I mean, the battle happened all throughout town and in the countryside. So when people think of Gettysburg, they're probably first thing thinking of Gettysburg National Military Park, where we had the Battle of Gettysburg over 3 days in July of 1863, and where we had Lincoln deliver his Gettysburg Address at Gettysburg National Cemetery.
Mm. You also have Eisenhower's farm, right?
Yes, Eisenhower
I love
National
it there.
Historic Site. I I I want more people to know about that because people come for the Lincoln history, which is amazing. But President Eisenhower and his wife Mamie lived here for several years, and so their home is a place that you can explore and you can walk the same grounds that they did. You can see Eisenhower's putting green. It's a really special place.
I want to move there. Like when we were just, it was during COVID, so everything was closed up, but you could still go on the grounds. And I was just like, well, I could just stay here. You know, this is okay. But going to the military park, that was to me very overwhelming emotionally. That was something you just like, whoa, okay. And then, but it's got beautiful picnic areas, and I saw people out on horseback. In fact, Joe Clark, a travel writer from IFWTWA, she did that. She went on horseback out there, and I think Debbie Stone has also been out there, travel writer, all part of IFWTWA. And apparently, Debbie Stone says there's a lot of good stuff to eat and drink in Gettysburg. So it's like the whole experience is there: history,
Definitely.
nature, and good food. And I think you can have a good glass of wine there too, from what I heard.
Oh, for sure. I mean, people know us for the battlefield, but we also have an amazing downtown and beautiful countryside. When you think of Gettysburg, you can't tell the story of America without it. So with the battlefield, I mean, it's about 6,000 acres. So you can take several hours to explore it, like you said, by horseback or in your own car, a double-decker bus, Segway, bring your bicycle. It's a place that needs to be experienced in person to walk in those footsteps of major pivotal moments that occurred in history. But the downtown's great too. I mean, you can start on Lincoln Square. It's super walkable. You pick any one of the four streets to go down like spokes of a wagon wheel, and you're going to find really interesting shops and restaurants. I mean, as far as food, we have a great craft beverage scene. There's beer, wine, spirits, mead,
Cool.
and yes, there's a lot going on. And we have, as far as restaurants, I mean, there's Irish pubs, you're going to find Thai food, Mexican, New American, everything from, a really great burger in a casual brewery to fine dining by candlelight in a tavern as old as this country.
That's whoa, a historic That's an old tavern.
Yes, yes, the Dobbin House Tavern, 1776.
Wow, wow. It's amazing when you think about it. Because we were based on the Southwest, in the desert Southwest. And as we travel now full time and, covering national parks, I remember when we got to Pennsylvania, and that was like one of those stopping moments for us, like, whoa, everything is like ancient here. When you think about it, compared to the desert Southwest, unless we're talking about indigenous history, the indigenous
Right.
peoples. And so that's really that's the ancient part of it. But then I mean, buildings from the 1700s, that is not what you see in the West, so it's a
Right.
completely different feeling. And, it is really a historic feeling there. And you've got that bridge that is also, I think your
That's
whole
covered
state
bridge.
is known for those bridges that you have.
Yes, we have some beautiful covered bridges in Pennsylvania. Ours that we have a few here, but the one people definitely think of Saks covered bridge, this beautiful red covered bridge. That's a great place for to just like take a nice walk down by the creek. I know people have taken like prom photos there, and it's a very popular place for visitors as well. It's there's definitely a lot of beautiful sites in the Adams County countryside, and a big part of that is because we have such a huge apple industry. I know people know us
Cool.
for the battle, but if that had never happened, I would just be talking about the agriculture constantly because it is a huge industry here.
So apples, and then when you talk about it being huge, I did an interview with a couple of ladies who did a cookbook, and it was Maryland, but it kind of touched into Pennsylvania. Is that's your area, right? Because when you drive up into your area, it's beautiful, it's pastoral, I
Mhm.
always tell people it's like absolutely gorgeous. I want to live there. And it looks like you have four seasons. And I mean, if you have apples, yeah, that's good. And you have an apple festival?
Yes, we do. So we're the number one apple producing county in the state and in the top five in the whole country. And
Wow.
as a result of that, we have some amazing activities going on during the fall harvest. And one of them that's been going on for 60 years, 60, is the National Apple Harvest Festival in nearby Arnsville, about 15 minutes away, where I get to call home. And this festival is always the first two full weekends of October. It is my favorite time of year because you can just eat all the amazing foods that are made with local apples. I mean, I think there are close to 2 dozen different ways you can enjoy apple foods just at this festival.
Wow. Wow. And then cider. We know hard cider's going to come out of this somewhere.
Oh, of
Someone's,
course. Yes, we
yeah.
have alcoholic cider, non-alcoholic cider. That's definitely a big industry here because you're going to see a lot of those family farms that do that wholesale of fruit have really diversified their businesses over the years. You know, these fourth, fifth, even I can think of a seventh generation family farm. And a lot of them are kind of delving into that agritourism or expanding their businesses by having beer, cider, so there's definitely a lot of farm to table experiences because we're so close to the agriculture here and all the fresh fruit that's being grown in what's known as the South Mountain Fruit Belt.
Cool. Very cool. So you've got agriculture, you've got great restaurants. I heard that you have good ice cream. There's some what's going on with the ice cream? Because I
Yes,
know
we
it's
have a
fall,
couple
but it's
great ice
still
cream
good.
places. So we have it's definitely a good place to get a sweet treat. One of the more famous ones is Mr. G's downtown. They've been around for
Ah,
a long time. They do amazing homemade ice cream. You're also going to find around in Gettysburg, I mean, there's candy stores and chocolate markets. There's definitely a lot of places to get a sweet treat or, pair that with like go to a cute little coffee shop. After spending hours on the battlefield, you might need a little pick me up.
so lodging wise, bed and breakfast, it seems like you've got bed and breakfast. What about hotels, vacation rentals? What is the makeup for people to stay there?
Yeah,
And
we
it
definitely,
seems family friendly to me too, that it seems like you're very much a family destination, but also like a romantic escape if you wanted as well.
yeah, definitely. We have, I think our strength is for a lot of the families because they see us that as that very historical, educational, and really affordable destination. But we're
Okay.
also seeing a lot of interest in young couples without children and the grandparents bringing, their grandchildren back. So it's very multi-generational that we see because I think that story of Gettysburg is something that permeates the generations and continues to connect with people. But as far as the lodging, B&Bs are very popular because we have so many historic buildings and places in the countryside as well. You walk down in Gettysburg, you know, and you're going to see those old buildings nestled between modern ones.
Mm.
So B&Bs are very popular. Of course, we have plenty of amazing hotels, some of them chain. And so you're going to really be able to find something that's affordable. And we're also really big in camping. I mean, we
Mm.
have some
Cool.
RV parks, and we also have, you know, if you want to glamp a little bit, we have some nice cottages.
Cool.
Or, you know, you can just go tent camping as well.
Cool. Cool. So you got parks all around you, right? Well, in your doorstep too, obviously, right? And so the nature, the outdoors, lodging, camping. I like the glamping thing. I think glamping is fun. I'm at that age where that's where I want to be. That,
Me too. I did a lot of sleeping, you know, sleeping bag on the ground in a tent,
yeah,
and my back is ready for my glamping era.
yeah. I'm at that point of like, okay, that's all good with me. So in return, like when regards to the visitors coming, you're really close to some main cities, right? So do you see visitors from around the world? Because I mean, Gettysburg is so iconic with the history. It's, I think people know it from all over, or do you see mostly, in the Northeast? Where are people coming from?
Definitely. So we have visitors come from all over the place. Being Gettysburg, we have that global recognition that makes us a destination that, you know, we don't always have to introduce ourselves to people because they've heard of Gettysburg. It's showing them the things that they may be not expecting in the destination. That's really fun. But we have a lot of visitors who they're going to be. I mean, we're like about less than 2 hours from DC, maybe an hour and a
Mm.
half ish from Baltimore. So those are major airports that you would be looking at if you're flying in. But we're very strong as a driving destination. You know, we're a tank of gas away from major cities. Philadelphia is just about 2.5 hours to our east. So Pennsylvania as a whole is a great road tripping state. And we're right at the south central part of Pennsylvania. So we're just a few minutes from Maryland if you're coming up from the south. And you know, you could get if you got lost in Gettysburg, you might end up in Maryland.
Yeah, we were in Town,
Yeah, and
Maryland.
I'm so glad you actually said that correctly. Some people say Taneytown by accident, but it's
Yeah,
Tawny
and
Town.
Town, and you have a Town Road in Gettysburg.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I remember
This really
going,
comes
it's
through.
following us here. It's following us here. Yeah, we stayed at a bed and breakfast. George's on York there, and they
Oh,
are,
that's a great one.
you know them. They're really great people, and
Mm.
he is such a just a Gettysburg history buff, and he's like at breakfast, now you've got to go here, here, here. By the time we left, I'm like, how are we going to do this all in a day? You guys are so big,
Well, and I
it's a
think
lot of ground to cover.
for sure, I think people find that they needed more time in Gettysburg than they were expecting, which, as a destination, if someone is leaving feeling like there's still more they want to do, that makes me happy because we do see a lot of return visitors. We see folks who maybe they came here for the first time with their family when they were young, or they came on that iconic middle school field trip, and then they come back again when they're young adults and they want to explore the craft beverage scene, or do a romantic getaway. Or then they get older and maybe they have kids and they want to bring those kids back or their dog. And we're a very dog friendly destination.
Oh, that's important.
Yes. And then we see that the grandparents come. So it's really multi generational.
That is cool. I like to see that, and multicultural, multi-generational. I mean, there's people coming from all over. I mean, that was what was mind-blowing to us is we saw this multi-generational thing happen with people, different accents from all over and languages. And it was cool. We were just like, well, listen to this. But people were contacting like their grandparents to look up family history while we were there. And I was like, oh, look at this connection.
Yes, that's something you can actually do at Gettysburg National Military Park at the Visitor Center. They have a room of databases with computers where you can research genealogy, whether it's someone related to you or you just want to pick a random soldier to look into. A lot of folks who come sometimes have that familial connection to the battlefield. I mean, I think it was
Mhm.
around 165,000 people fought here,
Mm.
50,000 casualties from numerous states. So you'll find many people that have a connection to the pivotal moment in American history that happened here.
Yeah, Joe Clark, travel writer Joe Clark was on our show talking about her ancestors actually fighting in the battle and being able to go on horseback and which is and to be where they were, and that is pretty deep. I mean, it was an emotional conversation. She did an article about it, and then we were talking. I'm like, I better not cry here, because it's
You
deep.
feel it. You
You
feel it.
do.
I had an ancestor, whose name's on the PA monument, and I've stood, in the place where we believe the first shot of the battle was fired on the first day on the 160th anniversary. And it's powerful when you walk in those footsteps and think about, okay, this is around where Lincoln delivered his most famous speech ever.
Wow.
This is where Pickett's charge happened.
Yeah.
This is where the Battle of Little Round Top occurred. And you come away from Gettysburg feeling transformed and feeling different.
Will you understand war? It's not just a number or the word. You know what I mean? When we were there, I really did. We had to go. We went to there's a little picnic area, and we were hanging out with the birds and watching cardinals and woodpeckers and going, okay, we just got to breathe a little bit. But the monuments themselves are also beautiful too. They're so beautifully done. It's
Yes.
you really get this instant respect. The cemetery, that was tough, especially the grave markers with no names.
Hmm.
To me was yeah, I mean, it's deep. It rolls deep, but at the same time you have this, okay, we can go have ice cream.
Yes,
To balance this out.
it's not all heavy. The battlefield is something needs to be respected and revered.
Hmm.
But there's fun ways you can explore it. And the licensed battlefield guides do an amazing job of kind of catering those experiences to each visitor. So you can explore the battlefield on your own in your own vehicle. It's about a 24-mile auto tour, and it's free to enter. But you can also work with a licensed battlefield guide, and they'll go with you in your own car. And if you have little kids, you can say to them, "Hey, we have young kids. Be sensitive to that." Or, can you tell some fun stories and anecdotes? Like there's this one monument that has a dog on it named Sally, who was a loyal companion to a group of soldiers. There's stories of bravery across the battlefield and things that can make it uplifting and inspiring. And you'll find you can, when you explore by horseback or Segway or double decker bus, that makes it a really fun experience too.
That's cool. I mean, when you just those little stories, I think that's touching. And that's something for kids to latch onto. Like they want the story of the dog. You know what I mean? That's going to
Yes,
be something that helps them move through and understand things and not be too heavy for them. You know what
for
I mean?
sure.
So,
And
yeah.
we find that a lot of our museums in town, we're lucky to have so many great museums, and they do things for big kids and little kids to try to have that kind of hands-on history to make it more fun. We have a children's museum where you can pick a child to follow their actual story of kids who lived through the Battle of Gettysburg and what that experience was like for them, where you can, pick up a soldier's pack and feel the weight of it, or, put on a hat that a soldier
Mm.
might have worn, and really get hands-on with history. And a lot of museums will have scavenger hunts or ways for people to feel connected to that civilian experience.
Yeah. In regards to, you've got the battlefields, you've got apples. We like this, the Apple Festival for now. But it's October, so if I don't ask you about anything haunted, like, come on, I have to.
You have to. It's Gettysburg. We're definitely known as we've been called one of the most haunted towns in America. And because of, the great battle that happened here, downtown, you're going to find an array of ghost tours. They all happen downtown. So there's no ghost tours happening at Gettysburg National Military Park because that is hallowed ground. But downtown, you're going to find, I mean, you can do a casual 1 hour walking tour that's not so scary, very many family friendly tours. There is a ghost tour company that does like an adults only tour that's a little spookier. Some ghost tours will go into the countryside or go into buildings that reportedly have hauntings. And there's even
Like the
ones that,
bridge, the covered
yeah,
bridge.
yeah, there's been stories about Sachs Bridge for sure. And some companies, they will have, you can do a 3 hour, nightly ghost hunt and bring special equipment, and they'll show you how to use it.
Wow, I want to do that. I'm in.
It's
I'm in for
a
that.
fun
But
way to
then it's
explore.
going out in the countryside, I'm like, are we going to do the Blair Witch Project or something
Right.
happening?
Down in Maryland, not too far from us.
Why does it suddenly feel freaky if you go out in the dark in the countryside for
Right. Well,
ghosts?
I
That's kind of
feel like
weird.
it's just you don't have the lights around you, the comforts of, modern things that you would expect. And when you're in the countryside, you can kind of feel like you wouldn't know the difference
Yeah.
whether it's 1863 or 2024.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's like, ooh, yeah. What was that little shift of wind, that
Yeah,
went by?
yeah. But
So,
the ghost stories are so fun because whether you're someone who's into the paranormal or not, at the end of the day, you're getting a fun tour in the dark and you're hearing about some of Gettysburg's history. So it's really entertaining.
well, it seems like you have a lot of tours, that you can do like in the park, the military park, but then also food tours, ghost tours. So, and that's a really good way to get history. I mean, to me, the tours are always a great way to learn things, and you hear things that you wouldn't always get, trying to read up on it before you go to a place. Just makes it come alive, I think, when you have tour guides, you know.
Definitely. And our tour guides are so passionate about what they do, and they are keeping that history alive. They want to tell the stories of real people that lived here and their struggles. And, one way that we're trying to do that is we actually have a new Black History Trail, and that's highlighting the stories of that community before, during, and after the Battle of Gettysburg. So if you go to blackhistorytrail.com, we have this digital passport you can sign up for that's totally free, and it will tell you different places that you can visit along the Black History Trail and hear some of those stories, like Basil Biggs, who was instrumental in helping establish Soldiers National Cemetery and bury the soldiers there after they were fallen. And then he helps establish Lincoln Cemetery, the Black cemetery in town.
Wow, wow. Isn't this all part of like a route to like a Civil War battlefield route? Because I remember, I think it's Monocacy that's not far from you. I remember doing
Monocacy.
like
Mm-hmm.
Monocacy. I can't pronounce anything up there. I'm
You got
sorry.
Tawny Town, so that's
I
close
got
to you.
okay. If I got Tawny Town, it's but I remember going there, and I remember one of the farms I think had a like a slave village or something that was going on there. This was a while ago. I need to go back, obviously, but there was like
Right.
some history there of like a, I don't know, like a township or something like that.
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't be able to speak to Monocacy too well, but I know in Gettysburg, we were just about we're 8 miles from the Mason-Dixon line, 8 miles from
yeah.
freedom. So there's incredible stories about, you know, um, free African Americans that were living in Gettysburg, that when the battle was coming, there was a fear of, what's going to happen to us. And so we tell those stories of that community, in our museums, in our town guide stories, in our battlefield stories, to make sure we're shedding light on that because those stories have not been told often enough.
Mm, that's good. It's important. It really is. So the four seasons, I wanted to touch on that. We talked about apples and we've got ghosts. So that's a good start. So I know you're going to have pumpkins somewhere. You have to.
Oh, we do. I mean, part of that whole South Mountain fruit belt, you're going to find cherries, plums, pears, and of course pumpkins. So the fall harvest is a great time because when you go to a local restaurant, you're probably going to find, like an autumn squash soup I just had the other day in a local restaurant, Sign of the Buck, that was so good. And a lot of those restaurants are kind of using that farm to table experience because just a few miles down the road is their butcher, their egg guy, their pumpkin guy, where they get the local uh, fruit to put into their alcohol or their salads.
Mm,
So you'll find pumpkin picking and fun activities for kids on the farm for sure.
cool. Now, winter, how deep does the snow get? From what I could tell, it wasn't like it's not massive snow. It's not
It's
like,
It's nothing massive. It's like a beautiful dusting, so great for photos. Depends where you're from, whether you think it's serious snow or not. I mean, we'll get a couple inches, a couple snowy days here or there. But it's beautiful. I love walking downtown on Lincoln Square because we always have a massive Christmas tree there. And when there's just a little dusting of snow on it, and a lot of the different businesses have adorn themselves with beautiful holiday lights. It's really nice when you take a horse-drawn carriage ride downtown and just get to experience that.
That's cool. That's cool. And then spring has got to be just amazing
Yes.
because of the flowers, like because you've got all the orchards and that's got to be gorgeous. I remember, I swear I saw like daffodils somewhere and we
Well,
were there.
because
Hmm.
since we have all those apples, that means we have a ton of blossoms in the springtime. So everyone knows DC for their cherry blossoms. I'd love people to know Gettysburg for their apple blossoms, and we have a heck of a lot less traffic here if you want to see ours. So
Hmm.
it's really fun to drive through the countryside, and you'll just see like rolling hills of white and pink. We have around 20,000 acres of just apple orchards. So
Wow.
when you visit these family farms in the spring, these folks whose grandparents, great grandparents took such good care of this land and now they're doing the same. We have this whole blossom belt experience where you can explore. We've created a map so people can see best places to experience those blossoms and then fun things you can do, like a horse-drawn carriage ride through an orchard
Mm.
or running through a hedge maze or go to a wine tasting room at a local farm.
Oh, sounds fun to me. Now, summer, I know it was warm because I think we were there in June around, I think so. I think that's the time frame we were there. And it was warm, but it wasn't anything that you're gonna, it's warm, but I mean, so what? It's not like the desert. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's comfortable and it's so green. It was just that I think we were still in shock at how green parts of our country are and definitely Pennsylvania had that just lush green. And
Mhm.
to me, it's intoxicating. I came out of the desert, man. So this is just like, wow. I'm just gonna, let me go roll around in a meadow. Makes me happy. That's what the first thing I noticed, was just how green it is. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. I find a lot of peace and serenity in the countryside for sure around here. The summer is can be one of our busiest times. I mean, fall is definitely up there, but July 1, 2, 3, that's the Battle of Gettysburg anniversary. So you're going to see the national park putting on a lot of great events for that, ranger walks, living history, bringing in renowned authors to speak. And then we also have at the Daniel Lady Farm every year is the Battle of Gettysburg reenactment. um, and this year it's going to be July 4th, 5th, and 6th. It's always right around the battle anniversary. They planned it on the weekends to make it easier for people. But you'll see tons of reenactors come out, and you feel like you just walked onto a movie set or into the pages of a history book because people will be in their uniforms. They'll be doing drills, firing demonstrations. You'll see people on horseback. Um, and there's a lot of ways to get hands-on with history. So July is definitely when you want to mark your calendar if you're coming for that. So you want that Civil War experience,
Mm.
early July is the time to be here.
Okay. Okay. So everyone, we got this now. And now everyone can go to your website. That's where they can find restaurants, hotels, bed and breakfast, where they want to stay and plan their experience. How long do you think it takes to really do Gettysburg well? If this,
I mean, it depends on the person. I know we have a lot of visitors because we're such a driving destination. Folks definitely see us as, we could be a really reachable day trip if you're coming from like Baltimore area. But if you're looking at overnight, I mean, 2, 3 nights, sometimes four.
mm,
If you want to err on the side to have enough time to do everything, I'd say 3 nights is pretty solid. So it could be like a great long weekend trip and escape, from the big city to experience a very small town. Population is just under 9,000,
mm.
just in the borough of Gettysburg. So you're gonna really have that small town experience, and I'd say um, probably around 3 nights, but maybe you need a little bit more depending on how much you want to
Mm.
explore and how much history you want to unearth.
And there's shopping too, y'all. I'm just saying, it's getting to the holiday season. So there's shopping. And, when you're doing these small towns too, you're helping small business as a traveler, you
And
know,
immensely. And
it's,
you spoke earlier about the hospitality of, that B&B owner, and you're going to find a lot of those mom and pop places around here that are so welcoming and they want to be able to give you advice on things to do and places to eat and things to experience because, these are their livelihoods. And for a lot of people, their dream is sometimes to retire in Gettysburg or move to Gettysburg or open their business in Gettysburg. And so tourism is really the lifeblood of the community, and you're going to find a lot of very welcoming business owners because they
That's
value
awesome.
the visitors so much.
That's awesome. So everyone, destination gettysburg.com is the website to go to. And as I was saying, follow on social media. And I just want to give them a shout out because they were just named one of Travel and Leisure's best small East Coast towns for 2024. Right on.
Yes, very proud of that.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah, no, that's awesome to have that. So if you want a small town experience, good history, good food, shopping, this is the place to go. Thank you so much for joining us, Mary Grace.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. I love getting to tell the story of Gettysburg.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, featuring members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. We encourage you to visit their website. We say IFWTWA, which is IFWTWA.org. You can also follow us at bigblendradio.com. Happy travels, everyone!